Hello and welcome you all for today's lecture on the subject management. I am Mr. Swapnil Sajni from Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sharad Institute of Technology, Polytechnic. Management is an important subject because an engineer has to work in industry with human capital and machines. Thus, management skills are essential for improving their employability as well as career growth. So, this subject is therefore designed to provide the basic concepts in management principles, safety aspects, and industrial acts. So, now we will just go through all the topics which are included in this subject. The first topic is Introduction to Management Concepts and Managerial Skills, and its weightage is for 16 marks. The second chapter is Planning and Organizing at Supervisory Level, and it will carry 14 marks. We are going to study this chapter today. The third chapter is Directing and Controlling at Supervisory Level. It also carries 14 marks. Then the next chapter is Safety Management. It will also have a weightage of 14 marks. And the last chapter is Legislative Acts, and it will carry 12 marks. So total 5 chapters are included in this subject. Like the other subjects in this semester, this subject will not have any practicals. This is the only subject in this semester which will have an online exam, which will be of MCQ type. So the paper will be for 70 marks, and the remaining 30 marks will be contributed by Unit Test 1, Unit Test 2, and the micro project. So the total weightage for this subject will be 100 marks. Today we will see the second chapter of the subject management, that is planning and organizing at supervisory level. Before heading with this subject, we should first know what is the outcome of this topic. So let's see the course outcome for this topic. At the end of this topic, students will be able to use principles of planning and organizing for accomplishment of any given task. So this will be the course outcome from this topic. In this chapter, first we will study the planning at supervisory level, and after that we will see organizing at supervisory level. Now, if we talk about planning, then planning is the first and important function of management. Planning is essential not just for successful management but for the success of almost every activity under consideration. We will see the definition of planning. Planning is the process of thinking about the activities required to achieve a desired goal. Or in simple words, we can say that planning is nothing but deciding in advance what to do and how to do, when to do, and who will do it. You can just simply remember this definition for planning. Now we will see why planning is important. Planning is very important before starting any project. In this slide, we will see what is the importance of planning or what are the advantages of planning. So first, it increases the efficiency. The efficiency we simply call it as it is nothing but the ratio of output to input. So with minimum input, we should get maximum output. So with planning, we can achieve this target. Next is proper direction. Without planning, we cannot give proper direction to all the people who are involved for the completion of the project. Next is proper coordination. Without planning, there will be no coordination in work and it will become very difficult to complete the task. Next again, business related risk. the entire project or task may fail if there is no planning. In departments like sales and marketing, planning is very important. Otherwise, the entire business will be at a great risk. Next, planning helps to achieve the objectives in a definite time, which is very important and highlighting feature of planning. It also helps in making right decisions at right time. With planning, we can utilize resources properly. This helps to reduce the wastage of time and money, which will directly add to the profit. And last, planning also encourages creativity and innovation if it is made by the involvement of all the members working on the project. So these are the important features or advantages of planning. Now we will see the difference between supervisor and supervision. So supervisor is a person who is the member of management team. He is also the head person of lower level management. In the previous chapter, you might have studied about the levels of management, that is top level management, mid level, and lower level management. So in case of lower level management, generally the supervisor is the head person. He has to look after day-to-day activities going on the project which is undertaken, and also simultaneously he has to guide all the people who are working on that project. If we speak about supervision, then supervision is actually a process which is to be carried out by that supervisor, such as guiding the team members. So this is nothing but supervisor and supervision. We will see now the definition of supervisor. The supervisor is a member of management team who has the authority over technical or clerical employees and who is accountable for results of their performance. And the definition for supervision is defined as guiding the activities of people who perform the work. So I think you might have now understood the difference between supervisor and supervision. In simple words, supervisor is actually a person, whereas supervision is the process. Planning at supervisory level. Planning is actually done at every level of management. In the first chapter, you might have studied the different levels of management, that is top level, middle level, and lower level management. So we will now just have a look on all the types of planning that are done at these levels. So first is strategic planning. This type of planning is done by top level management, which is represented by board of directors, chairman, president, managing director, or general manager, etc. The top level management is responsible for policy making and also for overall developments in the organization. Next is the intermediate planning. So this type of planning is done by the middle level management, which is represented by people such as factory manager, plant manager, head of departments, senior managers, etc. The main function of middle level management is to transmit the ideas of top level management to lower level management. They are also the link between top level and low level management. They help the top management in strategic decisions, whereas they also guide the lower management in operational work. They are accountable for the work done by the juniors. They are also working on wider areas compared to lower level management. They inform ground reality of the system to higher authorities and also assist in finding solutions to problems at execution level. Next is the operational planning, which is done by lower level management, which is represented by people such as train engineers, shift in charges, junior managers, line in charges, etc. They have direct responsibility of machinery and materials. They are skilled in both doing supervision as well as doing the work. The main function of lower level management is to supervise the operations or activities as well as to plan and execute daily work schedules. They also ensure smooth operations. They assign tasks to subordinates, as well as they report to higher authorities about the production function and related matter. They also have to keep the daily records of the activities that are being carried out on the shop floor. Lower level management is a larger group of officials compared to middle level management. Policy making is not their work, but executing the policies of higher authorities is their main concern. The lower management are also called as actual phase of management or the fighting chaps, since they are directly related to operational activities. So in this chapter we will be more focusing on this type of planning, that is operational planning, since supervisors are responsible for this operational planning. Now in this slide we will see what is the planning done by the supervisor. So supervisor is the head of lower level management. They play a key role in the function and success of planning. When an organization creates strategic plan, it defines its long-term goals and mission. And to achieve these goals, it must next define the necessary daily operations and participating groups that will make it come to fruit. So this is nothing but operational planning. And to achieve these goals, the supervisor has to deal with the following points, that is manpower, scheduling, communication, and oversight. So we will see this in detail in further slides. First, we will see planning by supervisor for manpower. Operational planning requires analysis of manpower needs. A supervisor will determine how many players he needs, as well as what skills each player will bring to the project. So if there are not enough in-house employees to fulfill the task, then the supervisor will need to recruit additional staff. So this may translate into hiring full-time personnel or utilizing a temporary agency if the project is not long-term. So he will create a job description, propose compensation, and interview prospective workers. The supervisor will assemble a team, apprise these team members of the goals, and ensure all team members so that they can work cohesively towards the common goal. After planning for manpower, the supervisor will then focus on scheduling. So scheduling is the method by which work is assigned to the resources for the completion of work. Or in simple words, we can say that scheduling is just an arrangement of all the resources such as man, machine, material, so that the given task can be completed in minimum time. Once the manpower needs have been completed, then the supervisor will set a schedule based on the production needs. Scheduling is actually an integral component for a successful project. So different teams are codependent on the completed work of others. So timing is very important. If the production falls behind, then the supervisor must react quickly and make scheduling arrangement so that the project is on line. Scheduling is also a critical factor in tracking a project budget. If the team falls behind in production, then overtime may need to approve the catch up. A successful supervisor must weigh the pros and cons of going into overtime versus hiring additional staff to work. Apart from planning of manpower and scheduling, a good supervisor should also have good communication skills because it plays an important role in operational planning. To function effectively, a team needs a detailed understanding of the long term as well as short term goals, as well as also about the process by which the desired goals can be fulfilled. The team members require clear, concise instructions on expectations and duties, as well as timely feedback once the production begins. The supervisor must also answer the questions as well as make some adjustments whenever necessary. He also needs to report regarding the progress to the upper management on regular basis, as well as interact with other supervisors to ensure project continuity. Now next is oversight. Oversight simply means observation. So a supervisor should have a good observation on each and every aspect that are related or which may affect the production. A good supervisor always knows where his project stands at any time. Though he performs an oversight role, he needs to become hands-on if a situation arises. It is the responsibility of the supervisor to ensure quality standards are met and project deadlines are realized. The supervisor must monitor the performance of each team member to ensure that the employee stays focused on the end results and also works with the other team members. If an employee lapses in his duties, then it is the duty of supervisor to address him and rectify the situation quickly so that it does not affect the ongoing production. So these are all the points which are necessary for planning at supervisory level. Now we will see the next point, that is supervisory planning for resource use. Supervisor has to plan for the resources so that each and every available resources can be utilized in effective manner. These resources are listed below as follows. So the first one is full use of human resource. For utilizing the entire manpower, supervisor has to find out various plans for employees recruitment, their selection, their training, as well as their promotion. He should also use correct person at correct place. He has to train to those who are lacking skills. He should also assist employees as per their SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is nothing but strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. He should also support the weak employees, as well as he has to motivate the subordinates for getting better output. And finally, he should also use his skills so that he can make utilization of the employees effectively. Next point is effective use of space. So the supervisor should plan for space in such a way that any kind of material movement, storage, or a safe working place and open space are not disturbed. So this is nothing but related with space utilization. The next point is employee work schedules. Supervisor has to allot proper work to every employee. He has to plan in such a way that their time are used effectively. No employee should remain idle because of the other. So here timing of employees is also necessary. Supervisors should also consider absenteeism and use alternative employees, because many times this happens that the work is entirely allotted and when the work is to be actually started, then someone is not available at exact same time. Then the supervisor should have plan B in such cases. You also have to plan for overtime if the work increases, along with the shift time management. So this was all about employee work schedules. Next is use of other major physical resources. Here we can consider machines. So machines are to be arranged in such a way that there should be least or minimum transportation for various processes that are to be carried out on that part or job which is to be manufactured. And for this purpose, material planning and machine utilization is to be properly planned by the supervisor. Then again, safe working environment. Supervisor has to plan for safe working practices. He should also plan for training of employees for their safety. But actually, there is a separate department for this. That is nothing but the safety department, who always train the employees for safety. In many companies, safety day is also celebrated for creating awareness among the employees. You might be heard about the OSHA, which is the organization for working against these safety procedures and reducing the cases of accidents throughout the industries. So this OSHA is nothing but occupational safety and health administration, who is totally dedicated for this prevention of accidents, or for creating some innovations so that accidents are minimized in the industry. Next is improvement in work procedure and methods. Supervisors should learn from past experience and try to improve the procedures and methods so that maximum output can be obtained. With this past experience, he can also prevent the future failures before they actually occur. Now, last is use and security of materials, supplies, and data. Many times the materials used are very costly, so they should have to be handled very carefully. Supervisor is also responsible for data security. He should plan for every material regarding its use and security. So this is all about supervisory planning for resource use. We have already studied about the advantages of planning, such as it increases the efficiency, or it gives proper direction, proper coordination, or it reduces the business related risk. It helps for better utilization of resources, or it helps in decision making. So we have already seen all these advantages. In this slide, we will now see what are the limitations of planning. The first limitation of planning is when there is change in technology, the complete planning fails, because planning is actually done based on the current available technology, or based on the past experience. But suppose if there is any kind of change in technology, then the planning may fail. Then the second limitation of planning is due to planned route of work, there can be problem when emergency situation arises. We will consider an example for this. So let's assume the example of car industry. So in a car industry, if there are thousands of cars which are entirely manufactured and only fitting of the tires is remaining, and suppose at the same time if the robots that are used for fitting the tires stopped working suddenly, then what will happen? The cars without tires, we cannot send it further, so the entire further working will be stopped. So this is actually the emergency situation. Because of this, whatever the planning is done or the route of work which is defined, this will be disturbed. The next limitation is supervisor may lose more time to do precise planning. Many times the supervisor has to do precise planning, and this will take much time. Next is supervisor may remain in false sense of security, because things in future cannot be predicted perfectly. Planning is usually done for the future. However, human beings do not have such kind of power to determine the happenings that are supposed to be occur in the future. Next point is, at many places planning is not possible. There are many areas in industry where actually planning cannot be done. For example, if we consider a research and development department, that is R&D department, then the main function of this department is to develop innovative things which will be easily taken by the customer or accepted by the customer. So in such cases, planning cannot be done precisely. And the last limitation of planning is, due to tight planning, the operations are decided in prior, and hence there is no flexibility in the work. Since planning is done, all the work has to be done as per the planning which is laid on the paper. So we have to work according that plan which is laid down on the paper. So there will be no any kind of flexibility while doing this work. So these are all the limitations of planning. Now in this slide, we will see what is the difference between supervisory and managerial planning. As already we have studied in the first chapter regarding what are the levels of management. So the supervisor planning is related with the bottom level of that pyramid, that is operational planning, which is done by the supervisor, whereas the managerial planning is the planning which is done by the top level or middle level management. So we will see the difference between these two points in detail. The first point is supervisors make short-term planning, whereas managers are involved in long-term planning. Short-term planning is the planning which covers less than 2 years, whereas the long-term planning usually covers a period of more than 5 years. So, in case of supervisory planning, the supervisors are actually working or they have to work for day-to-day activities. We can understand the difference between this short-term and long-term planning with the second point where the examples have been given. So, in case of supervisory planning, the examples are scheduling daily activities, securing raw material, or completing production targets, etc. Whereas in case of managerial planning, the long-term planning will include policy decision making, or employees hiring, or purchasing, etc. So these all parameters are concerned with the long-term planning. The next difference is in case of supervisory planning, the supervisors look into the work of their subordinates. He take care of the workflow, and the subordinates report him about their work. Whereas in case of managerial planning, the managers may or may not have employees reporting directly to them, but the managers may look after the overall working of the department. Next difference, in case of supervisory planning, the supervisors are internally focused in planning, whereas in case of managerial planning, the managers are externally focused in planning. Then again, supervisors manage group of employees, whereas managers deal with the projects. Next point is supervisor duties are focused on internal operations, whereas managers are focused on strategic plans. It may include internal, but it can also include external work too. The last difference: supervisors plan budget related to manpower, raw material, and other small expenses, whereas in case of managerial planning, the managers plan large budgets for capital projects. So these are the difference between supervisory planning and managerial planning. So now we will conclude here today and continue with the new points in the next lecture. So thank you.